Howdy folks, welcome to Boondockery. Today I'm going to be reviewing two of Solo Stove's backpacking stoves. I'm going to be reviewing the original Lite and its big brother, the Titan. Solo Stove's Lite and Titan belong to the family of stoves commonly referred to as wood gas stoves. If you're at all familiar with my videos, you're aware that I like to do a little something I like to call research. And doing the research for these wood gas stoves, I found out that wood gas stoves, especially this style of wood gas stove, is actually considered to be a coaxial downdraft gasification stove. Say that 5 times fast. So, you might be asking yourself, how in the world does a coaxial downdraft gasification stove work? Well, it's a good thing you ask. I just happen to know. Normally, when we burn wood, what we're witnessing is the actual material itself being heated and igniting and burning into embers and eventually into ash. It is the solid that we're looking at. Now, when we build a campfire or something like that, most of the time, what we're doing is we're burning the solid. We don't really think about anything else. But the thing is, the wood actually has within itself gases. These gases are forced out of the wood when the wood is superheated. Now, most of the time, we don't ever notice this gas because the thing is, the gas is actually heavier than air. So what happens is this gas escapes the wood as it's being heated and will usually drift away and downward from the fire, and we never even notice it. It is flammable. But the thing is, it has to be exposed to an actual flame to ignite it. A lot of times, all that gas is wasted because the fire is in the middle of the fuel source, which is the wood, and it is actually escaping away from the wood through where the wood has been cut or broken. Now, what a coaxial downdraft gasification stove does is it allows that gas to be captured and to be able to be burned as part of the fuel, just as it does the wood. Now let me explain how this little beauty works. First of all, the stove consists of 2 separate parts. You have the cooking ring and you have the stove itself. The stove itself is primarily a hollow, double-walled 304 stainless steel body. And it is completely closed with the exception of vent holes in the bottom here, vent holes in the interior top here. On the inside, you will see little wires, and that is a little gate of nichrome wire that allows ash to fall through into the ash basin. Now, where you cannot see underneath the ring where those wires are attached, there are also a third area of ventilations, and on the underneath that ash basin where this inner wall goes down and under, which would be down here on the inside, there's yet another hole for ventilation. Now I'm going to walk you through my little cutaway illustration that I drew without a ruler, mind you. You could probably tell that already. But we have the main body, which is in blue here. We have the cooking ring, which is in red here, and we have the ash basin, which is here. And we have the little nichrome wire gate that keeps everything up out of the ash basin until it turns to ashes. What happens is we will put our fuel in the main area here, right in here, which is this area. We light this fire. This particular type of stove works best with an upside down style fire. That means your fire is burning from the top down. You can very easily start with your fire here, throw sticks down inside of it, and burn it that way too. What will happen is it will burn very fast and very hot. When you use an upside down fire, it will burn it slower with a lower heat. But let's focus on how this thing works. We put our fuel in, we light the fire. The fire starts to go down and slowly begins to heat the wood. The little sticks that we put in there, those jagged little edges or those nice sawn edges, start leaking the gases out of them, and the gases go downward. They go downward into the ash basin and out through these little vents, which will come out through here, down, and out this bottom hole, and will come out here. Now, while all this heat is pushing that gas out, the heat is also heating up this inner wall, which is creating a draft and pulling air through these bottom vents, which are here, and pulling them up through this space between these two walls through here, and that air is passing through these vents up here. Now what's happening at that same time, as this heat is creating this draft, this wood gas, which is heavier than air, is now been caught up and warmed just a little bit. And as it goes up, it gets even warmer, and when it comes out of these vents, which are right here, they are called the secondary burning ports. That air and the wood gas come out at the same time through these little secondary burn vents, and they ignite. They ignite, and jets of burning gas will go upward. It looks just like a gas stove you would have in your home, or perhaps your Coleman camp stove. So we have all of this biomass material, your wood, whatever you're burning. It could be charcoal. It could even be wood pellets. We'll talk about that in a minute. But all of this is burning. And while it's burning down, that gas is going down, and it's making its way through here, warming up. And when it gets down to the bottom, it's fairly warm, and you have an updraft. That is air coming up through here and pulling that gas up with it and allowing that gas to be ignited by the flames that are already here from the burning material. Now, this wonderful little burning ring. As you can see, this little area here is almost conical shaped. It, very low degree of angle, but it's conical nonetheless. What that allows to happen is it pulls in the air up through here, focuses a little bit, and as it does, it creates a draft and pulls air through these little areas and forces that air to shoot up and focus it to the bottom of your pot. That, in a nutshell, is how this little beauty works. With very few exceptions, this process is the same for all stoves that utilize a coaxial downdraft gasification system. I certainly hope that my explanation made sense to everyone. Now, You might think these fancy-dancy solo stove, coaxial, downdraft gasification stoves are pretty high-tech, perhaps even ultra-modern. But I want you to keep in mind that the technology that these beauties are based on was actually created in 1839 by Gustav Bischoff. I have owned these two stoves for quite a long time, and I have used them a lot. Not only have I purchased these two stoves, but I've also purchased the two associated cookpots that go along with them, as well as a tripod and a windshield from Solo Stove. Before I get into any of my personal thoughts or opinions on this stove, let's go ahead and go through the specifications on these products. First of all, I do want to point out that both the stove and the cookpots both come with their own nylon storage bags that have a nylon cord and a cord lock to put those in. Once the stove's in its bag, it nests inside the cookpot. Lid goes on. For quick and easy and clean storage in your pack. The Solo Stove Lite weighs 9 ounces. That's 255 grams. It's 7.5 inches tall, or 14.48 centimeters tall. It's 4.25 inches wide, or 10.8 centimeters wide. It retails for $89.99, or around 68 British pounds. This is the associated nesting pot with the Solo Stove Lite. It's referred to as the Pot 900. The volume is 30 fluid ounces, or 900 milliliters. It weighs 7.8 ounces, or 221 grams. It's 4.5 inches tall, or 11.43 centimeters tall. It's 4.7 inches wide, or 7.94 centimeters wide. It retails for $49.99, or 38 British pounds. This particular pot at one time had handles, as all of them are supposed to have. However, the welds failed. These insignificant little welds failed, and it will eventually be re-welded. The lid also comes with a nice locking handle that has a rubberized grip. The combined weight of the Solo Stove Lite and nesting cookpot is 17.92 ounces, or 508 grams. This is the Solo Stove Titan. It weighs 16.5 ounces, or 468 grams. It's 7.9 inches tall, or 20.1 centimeters tall. It's 5.1 inches wide, or 12.95 centimeters wide. It retails for $109.99, or roughly 83 British pounds. The associated Solo Stove Titan cookpot is referred to as the Pot 1800. It has 61 fluid ounces in volume, or 1,800 milliliters in volume. It weighs 12.5 ounces, or 354 grams. It is 6.1 inches tall, or 15.49 centimeters tall, 5.5 inches wide, or 13.97 centimeters wide. It retails for $69.99, or roughly 53 British pounds. It is graduated up to 60 ounces, or 1.8 liters. It has a locking handle for the lid, a rubberized grip to keep you from burning yourself, a locking bail which can lock in the down or the up position, and locking handles that wrap around the pot for storage. The combined weight of the Solo Stove Titan and nesting cookpot is 13.75 ounces or 900 grams. The windshield comes in its own nylon bag with nylon draw cord and cord lock. When it is fully extended, it is 26.5 inches or 67.31 centimeters. It is 9.5 inches tall or 24.13 centimeters. It weighs 7.4 ounces or 209.8 grams. It retails for $24.99 or 19 British pounds. The tripod is comprised of 3 multi-section legs, a central threaded hub with an adjustable pot hook. When assembled, the tripod's adjustable pot hook can be lowered or pulled back up through the central hub and locked into place with this metal pin. When collapsed, the tripod is 13.5 inches or 34.29 centimeters. And when it's fully extended, it's 43 inches or 109.22 centimeters. It weighs 19 ounces or 538.65 grams and retails regular price at $45.99 or 35 British. Now I want to share some of my personal thoughts on these two stoves and their associated cookpots. First of all, the stoves themselves, with the operating system that they are designed to utilize, they absolutely work flawlessly. These stoves do require practice for you to be able to actually cook with them. If all you're going to be doing is boiling water, it doesn't matter. Throw your sticks in there, set them on fire, let them go, throw some more sticks in if you need them, and you will eventually boil the water that's in your pot. However, if you do want to actually cook with these, with a little bit of practice, you can cook just about anything on these little beauties. You have to consider the fuel type and also the size of the fuel that you're using. Naturally, if all I'm going to do is boil water or heat up soup or something like that, I can use very small pieces of sticks and put in the stove, and they will burn very fast and very hot. However, if I want to cook, if I want to fry some bacon, scramble some eggs, make some pancakes. I remember one time I made falafel in a fry pan. You have to use larger pieces of wood that's going to burn slower at a more controlled rate. And when you utilize the upside down fire technique, where you're starting a small fire on top of all of your fuel, it's going to burn much slower at a little bit lower rate. However, if you're using small twigs inside your stove and you're using the upside down fire, it might burn a little bit slower and a good bit cleaner, but it's still going to burn pretty hot, and it's not really great or ideal for actually fine cooking. Now, apart from whatever biomass you happen to have in the area that you're going to be using your stove as fuel, twigs, sticks, what have you, there are other fuel sources that you can use. You can very easily use a spirit burner. Fits in there very nicely. It works as a nice fuel source just in case you're in torrential downpours and you cannot find any dry usable firewood. You can always have a spirit burner to be able to provide the heat that you need to cook, and the cooking ring acts as a decent stove for the spirit burner. You also have charcoal. You can use briquettes, you can use hardwood charcoal, it doesn't matter. The one thing that I have found when using charcoal Charcoal does not behave the same way as wood. It does not produce the amount of wood gas as sticks, twigs, what have you. Mostly because this has already gone through a process that has removed a good bit of that wood gas. Whenever something is charred, that gas is naturally removed, and oftentimes it's whisked away in the smoke, or if someone is actually making wood alcohol, they are using a still to be able to superheat the wood and extract the wood alcohol just like you would moonshine through copper coils to have it cool down and drip into containers. And the byproduct of that process is charcoal. Lastly, I have wood pellets. Wood pellets are all the rage right now with a lot of people that do grilling and smoking. These burn very well. I was very surprised with how they burn. However, the way that these stoves are designed, those things fall down inside the ash container, the ash basin, and will clog all that up and will not allow that wood gas to go through the inner vents of the stove without blocking them. So what you need to do is to get a little bit of the aluminum mesh that you use for your charcoal grill. I got this at the dollar store, got 3 of them for $1, and cut those out into a shape that will go down inside your stove and cover up the little grate that's in there, so that way your wood pellets can go inside without falling through and clogging up the vents that wood gas needs to go through. One word of caution: wood pellets burn very, very hot. And I personally have not found a way to regulate that heat. If you need to boil a lot of water, you have a large kettle, you put a cup of wood pellets in your Solo Stove Titan, it will burn for about half an hour really, really hot. So you could boil probably enough water to fill up a decent sized basin to take a bath. It's insane how hot that gets and how long it continues to burn. And but without that little grate that was in the bottom that I DIY'd it wouldn't work the same. The wood pellets do gasify just like sticks or anything else very, very well. It works great. Again, the only drawback is I haven't found a way to be able to regulate the temperature to where it's cool enough to where I can actually cook things like fry bread, bacon, what have you, without it burning. Just a real quick correction. The amount of wood pellets I mentioned earlier is not correct. For the Titan, if you're going to be using the wood pellets and you want a good long burn for a hot fire, you're looking about 2.5 cups of wood pellets. It should burn about half an hour. For the Lite, you're looking about a cup and a half in there, 15 to 20 minutes. And the way I ignite the wood pellets is with a alcohol gel or sterno gel. Just squirt it right on top of it, ignite it, and it'll burn down exactly like the upside down fire. It'll start burning at the top and gradual burn all the way down, releasing all of that wood gas so it goes through the system and burns super clean, super efficiently. I want to get and give you some of my personal thoughts about this product. First of all, I want to let you know that when I bought mine, I bought them on sale. I bought all of the items separately. Today, you can purchase sets, pre-assembled sets of items. However, after doing the math, you don't really save that much money. Maybe about $1.50 to one British pound is all the savings you get from the individual priced items when you add it all together. So you're not really saving anything when you're buying a kit or a set. And with the sets, the things that they're offering with the sets, especially with the Lite set, I believe the Lite set, they're offering the pot, the stove, a ferro rod, a piece of fat wood, a alcohol burner, spirit burner, and they're charging $24.99 for the ferro rod. They're charging $24.99 for the spirit burner. Those individual small items are, in my opinion, overpriced for what they are. And if you want to buy the Lite and the cook pot, buy them separately as two individual pieces, because you can get higher quality ferro rods, alcohol burners than what they offer with the kits at a much lower price. Now, the kit that they offer for the Titan and the 1800, that comes with a windscreen or the windshield and the tripod. Again, you're not saving any money whatsoever on the individual items if you were to buy them all separately or as a kit. They just bundle it together. So you're not really saving anything. If you don't think you're ever going to have a need for a tripod, I wouldn't recommend buying a kit. If you don't think you're going to be using the windshield, don't buy the kit. If you think you're going to be using the windshield but you don't want to use the tripod, well, buy the windshield. I have bought both of those items, and I use both items, not all always the same times I go out. I almost always take my windshield with me, whether I'm using my Trangia cook set, my alcohol stoves, my Esbit solid fuel tab stoves. I take my windshield out almost all the time, whatever stove I'm using. But it does make a difference, and it does come in handy with this particular stove. So these two items are great by themselves, bundled together as a pair, and the items that the set comes with, the tripod and the windshield, yeah, I mean, they're okay. Everything on their standard price list on their website, in my humble opinion, is too expensive. It's too expensive. However, they have sales all the time. They have a sale going on right now, and you would save significantly. When I purchased my stoves and pots, the actual retail price was lower than it is now. And when I bought them on sale, the sale prices were lower than they are now. But at the sale prices, I feel that these products are worth the price. That being said, my little Pot 900 with the spot welded handle bracket. There is no reason in this world today, with the technology that we have, that you should have to pay $50 for a cook pot that has the handles fall off. Yes, I do know that there are rare occasions to where things happen. And yes, I do know that I could probably send this back to Solo Stove and they would send me a new one. That's beside the point. You spend $50 for a metal cup and a lid with handles, you expect the handles to stay on there as long as anything else. In my humble opinion, the gold standard on handles and graduation marks, because the graduation marks on these pots are not very good. They're okay. They're just okay. And the handles, my large pot, haven't had any problems with. The 900, of course, they fell off. I have a problem with that. The gold standard, as far as all of my cook sets go, goes to someone like Esbit. Esbit rivets all their handles, rivets everything, almost foolproof. It's not going to fall off. Their graduations on their containers, crystal clear, very deep. Yes, that's anodized aluminum. This is stainless steel. That, in consideration, I still believe that the graduation marks could be better. That sounds harsh. Yeah, it is harsh. I have an income that I have to make certain that every single penny I spend is substantiated. And when I spend $50 for a cook pot, a small 900 milliliter cook pot, I expect the handles to stay on it. I have a friend of mine that can weld this back on, and that's eventually what will happen. As far as the stove goes, the stove's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. When I bought my first stove, it was the Solo Lite. The Solo Lite, I felt for all my needs was too small. When I go out on day trips, overnighters, where all I'm going to be doing is boiling water, this will be fine. The Titan, for all types of things, cooking, things like that, using large pieces of wood with a controlled flame, this works much, much better than the small one. So I use this one more frequently than I do this. Most of the times when I go out on day trips, I wind up using a solid fuel stove, alcohol stove, quick and easy, and I don't have to worry about, making a little teeny tiny microscopic wood fire in the gasification stove. So if you're going to buy one of these, I would recommend, depending on what your purposes are, if you just general purpose wild camping, not cross country, through hikes and things like that, I'd probably recommend the Titan over the Lite. I just find it more practical and would suit my purposes and my needs with a greater variety of cooking methods than the smaller one. And the nice thing about it is I still have a lot of storage inside this container, even though it's stored in here. This is probably the one I would recommend if you're in a market for these. Can you get less expensive gasification stoves? Absolutely. Can you get higher quality gasification stoves? Probably. Could you get higher quality or equal quality at less price than these? Maybe, probably. I don't know. All I do know is that these two stoves work fantastic. They do everything that they're supposed to do, and in my humble opinion, these two stoves are worth every penny of the sale price. I do not know if they are worth the full retail. The full retail price of these is pretty high. I did not purchase these stoves or any product I purchased from Solo Stove at full retail price. All of it was purchased on sale. I definitely believe that sale price on these two stoves is worth it. Had I had it to do over again, and if I had the time, I had the resources, I would probably investigate other sources for nesting pots for my stoves. I was not at all pleased with a $50 pot handle coming off. I did not care for the mediocre embossing for the graduations for this. I do not know if I could, definitely would not recommend these at full retail price. Definitely would not recommend them. Again, if I had more time, more resources to be able to investigate, I probably would not purchase these even at sale price if I could find other nesting pots that were made more to my specifications for these stoves. Again, this is my humble opinion. I'm certain there are people out there that have had no problems with these. They're perfectly satisfied with the quality that they received for the price that they paid. But for me personally, that's how I feel. The windshield, the tripod, I think that the sale prices for those items when I purchased them, they were worth every penny of it. And they continue to prove that. Well, let's go get these things in the woods and fire them up. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a demonstration burn with each of these stoves, one of which I'm going to be using wood pellets, and the other I'm just going to use good old-fashioned twigs. Like I said, one of the nicest things about these is that they're pretty self-contained, and with the double wall lining with the stove, you don't really have a whole lot of worries about scorching the ground or, you know, setting an unplanned fire with this type of stove. Now I'm going to be using this stove with the little piece of aluminum grate I had cut for it. I'm going to be using this stove with the wood pellets. Let's go ahead and set those there. And put my grate back in. And I'm going to put about half a cup in there. It won't take much. And to light that, I'm just going to use a little bit of the Sterno green gel, fire starter gel. Just put a little squirt on there. Get that started. And it is going fine. Go ahead and let that catch, and then I'll get you in for a closer view so you can see exactly how the wood gas is going to come up through and create those jets. It's been about 2 to 3 minutes after I lit the fire. The starter gel has burned away. The wood pellets are burning nicely, and you are actually able to start seeing some of the wood gas coming up through the interior burn holes up there at the top, and it's starting to shoot out like jets. And as that burns down a little bit more, gets a little hotter, and more of the pellets themselves are burning, you're going to see more of those jets shooting through. It's going to look just like a gas stove you might have in your kitchen. I'll bring you back just as soon as I can see those jets shooting out. Literally just a few seconds ago, I stopped filming and I collapsed the legs on my tripod to get a closer view. And you can already see how much of the wood gas is being burned through the secondary burn vents at the top, right through here, right back here you can see them. And this little cone lip that goes around the top section here is pulling those flames up and focusing them, and so you're getting a very intense focus of heat right up here. Now, as you can see, the wind is affecting that. I'm going to go ahead and put my windshield up so you can see how much of a difference it makes when you have the windshield up. versus just allowing it to burn. When you have a pot on top of the stove, it does help a good little bit, but having that windshield helps even more. I'll go ahead and set that up and bring it back. As you can see, that helped that flame tremendously. That flame is now shooting straight up out of the stove. It's still the same amount of breeze there was just a few seconds ago, but it's not affecting the stove at all at this particular moment. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you can see those jets of wood gas coming through. Without a doubt, the most efficient fuel burning stove that I own. Everything that can be burned with whatever material that you put in the stove, it will burn 100%. And it's absolutely fantastic for its fuel efficiency. It will take you some practice, however, on learning how to cook with it and also how to cook with different fuel types. The wood pellets have burned almost completely out now. There's no visible flame, but as you can see, the embers are still glowing pretty hot, and there's still a significant amount of heat coming off of those wood pellets. This will continue to burn itself out until where it's literally nothing but a very small essence of what it once was, in the form of not even a tablespoon of white wood ash. Now, as I stated before, this type of stove actually works best as an upside down fire type of stove. So I'm going to go ahead and load this up with thicker pieces of wood at the bottom and get a good layer there. Then I'm going to start crossing them just like I do with a regular upside down fire when I'm making one for my wild camping. And yeah, the twigs are a little damp. We've had a lot of rain here, but it shouldn't be any problem whatsoever to get going. And cross her one more time. Some smaller stuff. I think that should be pretty good to go. Now I'm going to go ahead, put some really small stuff on here to create the cascading embers that are going to cascade down on the rest of the fuel and start to ignite it. Just a little bit more. And I'm going to go ahead and put that collar on the top, so I have a little area there to contain my small twigs. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to use a piece of commercially available fire starters. I think Royal Oak is what I'm using there, and I believe they call theirs tumbleweeds. I'm not certain exactly what the name is. Several companies are producing them now, but they call them different names. But this one here is Royal Oak. And I'm just going to drop some fuel on top of there. And I'm going to go ahead and continue to feed that as it burns. Remember, an upside down fire relies on very small twigs and sticks at the top of your fire as it's first starting, so that it will allow small embers to fall down through and on top of the larger pieces that are underneath of it. And as it's burning from the top to the bottom, it is allowing a lot of that wood gas to get heated up to emit from the sticks that are beneath it and force it downward. So it goes down through the bottom into the captive area for hot air to pull it back up through and shoot back up through the secondary burn vents at the top. I just wanted to point out that the other Solo stove that had the wood pellets in it have burned completely out, and there is nothing there but about a tablespoon full of white ash. I'm going to go ahead and touch it with a twig so you can see it cloud. There's a little bit of ember in there still. So I'm just going to move twig around on there so you can see just how little actual coal is in there. That's almost all ash. Almost all ash. There's one little piece, 2, 3, 4 little pieces of coal that are actually still burning, but those will completely burn to ash. It's just an amazingly efficient stove. Okay, it's burnt down through that first layer of twigs. I put just a few other larger twigs on top just to give it a little bit more embers to fall down through there, but it looks like it's burning pretty well. The one thing about this type of stove, and really I notice it more with this Titan than I do with the Lite, is that it really emits very low amount of smoke and visible flame. I think it's absolutely a phenomenal concept, especially if you're into stealth camping. This might be the one type of stove that you can have that will burn any fuel you want to feed it and do it with very low smoke and flame. I just wanted to show you how little ash is actually in this right now. I'm just going to go and empty it out right here so you can see how little ash is actually left. You see there's nothing left inside of it, and that is it. That is about a tablespoon of ash. And I was really surprised when I first started using these on how quickly they cooled down, being stainless steel. Now you can't grab them as soon as they're finished, but I mean it does cool down fairly quickly, at least faster than what I thought they would. So you don't have to wait a tremendous amount of time for it to cool down for you to pack it up again. And if you need to, you can pour water inside this, completely extinguish it, and that cold water will actually cool the steel down without affecting it negatively one bit. As you can see, it's burned down to the primary fuel, and it burns remarkably clean and has a very nice flame. The conical inner lip to the top collar, which is also the pot rest, enables that flame to be focused to the bottom of the pot very well. Let's see if I can zoom in here so you can see that secondary burn going on with the wood gas being bumped through the secondary burn openings. That is an incredibly efficient burn. Just like the wood pellets, whatever natural biofuel you put in here is going to burn exactly the same way. It's going to burn itself completely out and completely into ashes. In the future, I plan on doing some videos where I cook with the Solo stoves. That way you can see them in its practical application. The demonstration burn I did today, just as an example of showing you just how quick, easily, and how efficiently these little stoves work. Hopefully, with the demonstration I provided today and the review I provided today, it'll give you a better understanding of what these little stoves are capable of and whether or not one of these stoves would be something that you would want to add to your kit. Folks, I'm rapidly losing light, so I'm going to go ahead and sign off for now. Thank you so very much for watching. I'll see you next time.